Today, Iran projects a heavy footprint across the Middle East, anchoring a network of allied militias and political factions known as the Axis of Resistance. Of all the Muslim-majority nations in the world, Iran stands alone in its legal structure. It is the only country where Shia Islam forms the absolute foundation of its constitution and governance. To understand how a nation-state derives its modern power from theology, we have to rewind 1,400 years to a single unresolved question: who has the right to lead the faithful after the death of the Prophet Muhammad? The Iranian state we see today is the modern culmination of an ancient struggle over divine authority and political legitimacy. The fracture begins in the year 632 CE, near an oasis called Guardianship. According to Shia tradition, it was here that the Prophet Muhammad delivered a sermon, designating his cousin and son-in-law, Ali ibn Abi Talib, as his rightful successor. But following Muhammad's death, history took a different path. A group of close companions convened and bypassed Ali, electing Abu Bakr as the first caliph through community consensus. As we can see in this lineage diagram, the Muslim community split along two distinct paths. On one side, Sunni Muslims accepted leadership by consensus. On the other, the Shia, an Arabic word meaning partisans, insisted that leadership is a divine right, restricted entirely to the Prophet's bloodline, known as the al-Bayt. This highlights the descendants of Ali, pointing to the core Twelver Shia concept of the Imamate. The Imamate is the belief that Ali and his specific male heirs are infallible, divinely guided leaders, holding supreme spiritual and political authority, distinct from ordinary earthly kings. Ali's initial political defeat forged a resilient identity. Shia Islam organized itself as a movement built on absolute loyalty to a divine bloodline, explicitly rejecting submission to majority rule. The defining trauma of this movement arrived a few decades later, in 680 CE, centering on Ali's son, the third Imam, Hussein. Hussein faced a demand for absolute submission from Yazid, the newly installed Umayyad caliph, whose rule was widely seen as corrupt. But Hussein categorically refused to pledge allegiance. In response, Yazid dispatched an army of 30,000 soldiers. They cornered Hussein and his 72 followers on the plains of Karbala in modern-day Iraq, deprived them of water for days, and massacred them. Millions of Shia Muslims worldwide still viscerally mourn that historical trauma today. The devotion is physical and immediate, with crowds pressing against the grill of Imam Hussein's shrine to weep for his sacrifice. The slaughter at Karbala elevated Shia Islam into a profound religious identity, defined by a permanent fight against oppression and the ultimate veneration of martyrdom. 2 centuries later, the theology faced a massive crisis. The 12th Imam, known as the Mahdi, entered a state of occultation, a belief that he was hidden away by God to protect his life, leaving the Shia world without a living, divine leader. For hundreds of years, the faith existed without state sponsorship. Then, in 1501, the Safavid Empire made a monumental decree, establishing Twelver Shia Islam as the official state religion of Persia. This decree shifted the center of Shia scholarship away from the Arab world. Vast seminary cities grew in Iran, like Qom, marked by the golden dome and towering minarets of the Fatima Masumeh shrine. The Safavids imported Arab clerics and funded their institutions, intentionally building an independent Shia political authority within their borders. By fusing the Shia faith directly with Persian national identity, the Safavids created the geographic and cultural launchpad for what would eventually become a modern theocratic state. Jump forward to the late 1970s. The Iranian population was suffering under the intense political suppression of the US-backed Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, a secular monarch ruling by military might. Public anger boiled over into a massive popular uprising. Millions of disenfranchised citizens flooded the streets of Tehran, demonstrating a sheer demographic force that ousted the Shah. Into the resulting power vacuum stepped Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, returning triumphantly from exile to establish a new, uncompromising clerical authority. Khomeini brought with him a revolutionary doctrine called Wilayat al-Faqih, which translates to the guardianship of the Islamic Jurist. He argued that during the ongoing occultation of the hidden 12th Imam, the state could not be left to secular rulers. Instead, a supreme human cleric must hold ultimate political and religious authority over the government. Wilayat al-Faqih took a faith that had historically waited passively for a messiah and transformed it into a weaponized, modern system of statecraft. To enforce this new theology, the Islamic Republic established the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, in 1979. They operate as an independent security force dedicated strictly to preserving the clerical regime. During the grueling 8-year Iran-Iraq War, the IRGC rapidly expanded its power. They institutionalized the ancient Karbala narrative of martyrdom, using it to mobilize millions of troops for the state apparatus. Today, Iran projects its geopolitical power across the Middle East by leveraging that exact same Shia identity to fund and train allied militias. But this map of the Middle East reveals a crucial nuance. Not all Shia Muslims follow Iran's supreme leader. A distinct line separates the political seminaries of Qom, Iran, from the traditional seminaries of Najaf, Iraq. In Najaf, leaders adhere to a quietist tradition. Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani and his peers advocate for the separation of clerical authority from direct political rule, effectively acting as a counterbalance to Iran's model. Born in ancient disenfranchisement and the blood of Karbala, Shia Islam is an incredibly dynamic force. Today, it stands as both a deeply spiritual transnational faith and the uncompromising ideological engine of a modern global power.